So we probably have time to talk about like one more thing.
Okay.
So I wanted to talk about touch-ups because this is a big topic, right? This is a big topic. It's a big conversation that pops up on in Facebook, like a lot, like on the groups. And so scenario.
Okay.
Let me play out a scenario. So you get a phone call and client, she had her brows done somewhere else, and she just wants a touch-up. And they expect a touch-up fee. How do you feel about it? You didn't do the work. How do you feel about that? Do you get those kind of calls?
It's like a love and hate for me as a new artist because, like, you know, my clientele's still building up. I'm like, ding, new client. I'm like, yes, but it's not my work. But at the same time, you're putting just as much effort or even more because you're trying to cover up, color correct. I tell them, like, this is what I charge and, you know, but it's such a sensitive topic because it's someone else's work and, you know, you're touching up your touch-up. You know what I mean? So I like to say my first session is this. And and as I hate to be like, oh, well, that's income loss. Like I said, I want to like set my ground right now as I grow, you know?
Well, we're not just artists. We are businesswomen, right?
Yeah.
And we have to earn money. That's a given.
Yeah.
So do you charge like one fee for a new eyebrow and then a separate fee if they have to come back or for a follow-up? Or do you charge one fee and it includes a follow-up or two follow-ups? How do you do that?
So I like to do, like, if I'm doing just like the microblading strokes, I'm pretty faster at microblading.
Okay.
So I charge $400 for the first touch-up, right?
Yeah.
I like to like split it up.
For a touch-up?
Oh, no, for a touch-up. I'm sorry, for the first session.
So for the first session, you charge like $400?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and if I start doing the machine work, just because I feel like I'm more OCD with that and I have more detail into that, I charge $450.
Okay.
And then their touch-ups, whether it's microblading or powder brows, I charge $150, 6 to 8 weeks.
No, I think that's great. So because we charge separate fees for touch-ups too. I don't lump it all together.
Yeah.
So we charge,
Yeah.
you know, an upfront fee for their very first brow. And then 6 weeks later, if they need a follow-up.
Right.
Not everybody does. But if they do, then we charge a separate fee for the follow-up. I think more and more PMU artists are starting to do that.
Yeah. And I think that's a great option too for also people coming in as touch-ups from other places or as someone else doing their brows, because listen, this is what you're going to get for your first session, because it's the same thing I would do with you as a new coming client, probably even more with your old work. But if you feel like you need to come in for a touch-up, you're more than welcome to. Right. You know, because this is your touch-up.
Yeah.
So.
Well, for me personally, I never understood why the industry, and when I started in the industry 20 years ago, I mean, it was just everybody just did free touch-ups, and I couldn't understand it. I mean, your hairdresser doesn't charge you. I mean, it doesn't do free like root touch-ups.
No.
And when you go to your nail lady to fill in, to do your fills, you know, I mean, those aren't free. So I just never did free touch-ups. I know it makes sense to some artists to include it, and that's totally fine for their business motto and the way they work. That works for them. For me, it didn't work. It just never felt right for me. So my entire career, I always charged fee for new procedure, separate fees if they need follow-ups. I've just always done that.
What do you do if they like argue about it, like, well, why is it not a touch-up price? Because you're always going to get that.
You mean someone else's work?
Yeah.
We get that all the time. So they'll call or email and they'll want to come in and we'll say, yeah, it's $500. We charge $500 for a powder brow or an ombre brow. And they'll say, well, it's just a touch-up. And we did not, and I'll say, well, it's not a touch-up. We didn't do your original work.
Right.
I said, if you go back to your original artist, it may be considered a touch-up with your original artist, but for us, it is not a touch-up.
Do you notice sometimes they get a little offended? Go back to your artist.
Yeah, sometimes they get a little offended. Sometimes they hang up, and then some people understand it.
Right.
You know. And if they get offended, you know, I didn't mean to offend them, but that's just our policy. It's the way we work in here. And they can surely, call other studios and call other places. But no, if you've never been here before and you got someone else's work on your face, when you come in, it's a brand new appointment to us. So we charge you a brand new procedure fee. And we don't really wiggle on that.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of times they don't understand. Sometimes it can be even more work, right? Because we're dealing with a color that's already there. And sometimes the client doesn't see that it's bluish or grayish. They don't see what we see.
They don't.
Isn't
that crazy?
It is kind
They're
of
like, what? It's green?
Yeah, you get that all the time, right?
Yeah.
And then I always explain to them, now once you're my client, then there's follow-up fees and refresh fees, maintenance fees. I said, but your first procedure in here is, this is what it costs.
And
so
that's kind of a thing where is it like an ongoing thing? No, I need a touch up. Like how long is that going to last? And it really pisses me off.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's just touch-ups, I think, are a lot of people's, nemesis. I mean, they have a hard time with touch-ups. My artist Amber, she just opened up her own studio a few months ago. We were just talking about that, like all the touch-ups, like she's just not having room in her book for all these, these touch-ups. So I was like, designate a couple days out of the month where that's all you do, so when you consult with somebody, tell them, and these are the days that I do my touch-ups.
Okay.
Yeah. That's probably a good way to manage your book. Because some people, they want to, it could be 2 or 3 touch-ups, in their mind.
Yeah.
Or they come back for a tiny little dot or, whatever. Yeah. Some people are super picky, super picky. And, and they strive for perfection. And so they might be a little bit more apt to schedule a second touch-up or a third touch-up. There's clients like that, like they get in with their magnifying mirror.
How do they do that? Like, what is in your brain?
Yeah. And they look, maybe they have OCD or something like that,
Yeah.
or they focus on themselves. So, we're really understanding, but, you also got to kind of manage that. It's up to us to manage client expectations, to manage that sort of thing, I feel, right? And if you're touching up too much, you can cause some permanent, scar tissue or affect the integrity of the skin. So it's up to us to manage that.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. No, and you kind of have to set your foot down as an artist,
Yeah.
And it's kind of, honestly, it's kind of a hard thing to do as a new artist because it's kind of like, okay, gimme. But
right.
I kind of said to myself, I'm going to put a stamp where I'm like, this is what I want to do. I have to be solid. It's not worth the money because down the road, I don't want people to say, well, you charge this girl this much. Why is it this much? I don't want that coming back on me.
Yeah. You keep a pretty set price and
I do.
You don't discount.
I don't.
Wheel and deal and set discounts.
No. When I first started, yes. But now that I, felt like, okay, I got my rhythm. I'm better than I was since 2017. I'm like, that's it. Like I have to like set my foot down, like this is what I love to do, and with passion, but it's not something that I should compromise with someone else's pocket because of what I work so hard for.
Well, it's good that you're already setting those boundaries because I think that's also like really hard for newbie. Not that you're like a newbie at 4 years in, but you're still fairly young.
Yes. I'm still figuring everything out.
Yeah.